So, for everyone's context, Dharany is a massive, massive Surya fan. Um, and in that regard, did retro meet your expectations? It's been a while since Surya's given a good hit in theaters, something that it's not just critics, but like general audiences, fans also can enjoy. In that regard, did retro meet that mark for you before you go into any other film discussion?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. As a Surya fan, and regardless of me being a Surya fan, I think Retro does meet that expectation. We've been seeing like positive reviews, not online, I would say offline, because I've been seeing
Offline
on the
mixed.
theater internet.
Not completely
Offline
possible.
mixed in laboratory positive because now
I've seen a lot of
on
mixed. I've seen a lot of mixed. So for me, right, and now when we get in the rest of the discussion, you'll understand why I'm saying this. For Surya as a star, it's a superb film. But is it this definitive comeback, of like, I'm here and this is what I am? I think we'll have to wait just a bit more.
in terms of comeback, the whole idea of a comeback, I'm not sure what people are trying to say. Because Surya has been giving, like, if you look into just films, you can't really call it a comeback because Surya has been giving good films. It's not like he's been down the drain and he needs to come back up. Abdullah, he's been giving good films, so I don't really get the idea of a comeback other than it being, the whole collection part of it. So, with that
So,
being
so,
said,
so,
going into
um, so I'll just quickly interrupt you. But when you say comeback, the Surya, I think, who was peak, right, was this era from, say, Kaka Kaka to Iron Singham, right? Absolutely brilliant films, brilliant performances, and really entertaining films, which a lot of people enjoy. I think Ning Yara Arnalu, like Iron is one of those films like if you are an Ame, if you are a Tavale, if you are a Anil, you're gonna rarely find someone who says I don't like Iron, I didn't enjoy Iron, that Iron's not one of my favorite films. And under and I think that's the standard Surya has. Unfortunately, if you ask me, it's been a while since Surya has been into that caliber. Retro for me showed hints of that, but we'll get into it later. Anyway, back to you.
I think
What is the good?
no, but also I think with that it that's the case with all heroes or like all stars, right? It's not like the other stars keep giving films like what they used to give in that 2000 to 2010 period. It's a downfall for everyone if you see it that way. It's just the
I
fandoms
think
that
except
keep these
Vijay. I
stars.
think Vijay has done a decent, pretty good job though, to be very honest.
I mean, if you compare it with films that, okay, with Surya, let's say Vikram was also somewhere in that zone, right? If you compare films that Vijay or Ajit have been doing with these other actors like Dhanush or Surya or, Vikram, they've also been giving good hits. It's just the fandoms that keep Vijay and Ajit relevant compared to these guys because they have a master audience. But I don't think that if you're saying a comeback, then there should be a comeback for Dhanush, Vikram, everyone if
Hmm.
you see it that way.
Interesting
So
perspective. But anyways, let's get
not
back to the
just
main topic. Let's start with you, Dharani. What was the goods? What were the good parts of retro for you? Because I think, like we mentioned, it's not been a completely out and out positive response. There is a bit of here and there. I think even if you've watched our vlog, you'll know even Dharani, even though she liked the film, she had a few things, right? And me, I had a lot of things. But let's start with the good. What did you enjoy in retro?
I think starting off with Sana's music, I think you guys all know by this point, if you've been following Love and Love and how big of a fan I am of Santosh Narayanan. So I think Santosh Narayanan the score on the full film elevate பண்ணுது. Like most people say how Anirudh's music is such a strong suit to big star films. அது மாதிரி I think Sana's film has worked really well for this. And sorry, Sana's music has worked really well for this. And I was actually very excited to see Surya in Sana's music. So அது like Sana is a big part of this film's success னு தான் நான் சொல்லுவேன். Because அந்த அந்த ஒரு அப்படி ஒரு ஃபிலிம்க்கு வேற யாரு மியூசிக் போட்டிருந்தா ஒர்க் ஆகியிருக்கும்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. பட் ஐ திங்க் சனாஸ் மியூசிக் ஹேஸ் ஒர்க் ரியலி ரியலி வெல், இன்க்ளூடிங் சாங்ஸ் ஸ்கோர் எல்லாமே. சாங் பிளேஸ்மெண்ட்ஸ் கூட அந்த கடைசியில் அந்த வார்ன் ஐ வாஸ் திங்கிங் த ஒன் சாங் வந்து கொஞ்சம் முன்னாடியே எங்கேயோ ஏதாவது ஒரு மாஸ் ஃபைட்டுக்கு வரும்னு சொல்லி. பட் கடைசி கிளைமேக்ஸ்க்கு அந்த பாட்டு ப்ளே பண்ணது வாஸ் லைக் insane. It was and the Jigger the double X. There's this one Jigger theme கேட்டிருக்கியா? Jigger theme is like it touches your soul. அந்த மாதிரி எனக்கு வந்து the one part I used to hear it for SVDP's part, but filmல like Sid Sriram and Sana's voice was like insane. So I think Santosh Narayan and music is a really strong suit to the film. அதுக்கப்புறம் if you look at Shreyas Krishnan on the cinematography, that's insane work right there. Like you know Karthik Subbaraj filmனால you know visuals are going to be stunning, but I think இதுல நிறைய experiment பண்ணிருக்காங்க, especially with the 15-minute one take sequence which we already saw a glimpse of in Veeradhira Sura. But Veeradhira Suraக்கும் இதுக்கும் என்ன differenceனு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, this is like a much bigger set with like 100 to a lot of background artists and a lot going on. There's like there's fight, there's dance, there's chaos going around everywhere. So I think to be able to pull that off is insane, especially ஒரு film setல ஃபோக்கஸ்லாம் புல் பண்ணிட்டு அவ்வளோ பெரிய ஒரு சீன் ஷூட் பண்ணி முடிச்சிருக்காங்கிறதே ஒரு பெரிய விஷயம் தான். ஸோ ஐ திங்க் that was insane to watch. Then of course Surya's performance. Surya, you guys all like. I think Surya is known for his acting mostly, but I think in the film you see so many versions of Surya. As in, first half fullave, he's not smiling. He shouldn't smile at any part of the film. Even in his marriage, அவர் வந்து சிரிக்காம தான் இருக்கணும். So அதை pull off பண்ணதே is it's kind of huge because we don't see that he's not smiling or he's gonna be. We still see what he's feeling, like his emotions என்னன்னு convey பண்றாரு without smiling at all. So I think that's a huge part. And then also after the interval sequence, we see a scene where he's trying to smile in front of the mirror, something similar to what we see in Joker. But adu pull off பண்ணது is like it's very like சூர்யாவோட கேரக்டர் வந்து பாரிங்கிற ஒரு கேரக்டர் கிட்ட யூ கேன் கனெக்ட், யூ நோ வாட் திஸ் கேரக்டர் இஸ் கோனா டூ, அண்ட் ஐ திங்க் ஆஃப்டர் ஃபியூ மினிட்ஸ் இன் டு த ஃபிலிம் யூ கைண்ட் ஆஃப் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் ஹூ திஸ் கை இஸ், அண்ட் திங்க் சூர்யா ஹேஸ் புல் தட் ஆஃப் ரியலி வெல். ஒரு அயன் ஆதவன் அந்த அந்த டைம் பீரியட்ல இருந்த ஒரு சூர்யாக்கு டேப் இன் பண்ண மாதிரி இருக்கு இன் டர்ம்ஸ்
I
ஆஃப் லைக்
think more of
ஹியூமர் அண்ட்
like I think beyond, if you go even I think and Kaka Kaka, Pitamagan, Nanda and the era of Surya tapping. I think because with Iron and all, it's more of a jovial kind of role, even other one. But like those films were like the scope was really immense, and I think it's amazing that Kasu got that from Surya.
and also on the humor, especially like talking about Ayan Adavan, Pidamagan, அதுல இருந்த ஒரு அந்த ஒரு ஃபன் சூர்யா வந்து லாஸ்ட் ஃபியூ இயர்ஸ்ல யூ கான்ட் see that Surya unless I think in Mass he was
Yeah,
there a little,
Kangua, Kangua the first 20 minutes. அதுலயும்
but
பண்ணா
அது
தான் இருக்கும்.
it wasn't like Surya, it was just like it wasn't Surya அந்த ஒரு இது இருக்குல்ல. But I think in the film, like the way he interacts with his with Joju and everything, like அந்த ஒரு that was nice to see. And then I liked the at first like எங்க மொத ரிவ்யூல நான் சொல்லிருந்தேன் I didn't like the whole godly part of it. But then after I came home and then I kind of, because I haven't read the Mahabharatam, so I don't know about it. But I think after coming home and doing my research, I think I really like the way that the film is connected to the Mahabharatam. It's something what Manisa did with Ravanan, which Karthik Subbaraj has tried here,
and
which
and uh, and with Karnan in Talabadi was
yeah, that's also Manisha. So Maniratnam. So Maniratnam பண்ணது ஒண்ணு, Karthik Subbaraj attempt பண்ணது it's actually really nice to see. I think those are my biggest positives of the film.
Mm. So எனக்கு எனக்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா I think like Dharani said, Suryaவோட presentation and his the way Karthik Subbaraj utilized him was really nice to see for me. நிறைய நாளுக்கு அப்புறம் we're seeing Surya own himself as a star, which is something he is either not had the scripts to do so, or when he has, the execution has faltered. But I think in terms of conveying him as a star, utilizing his acting skill as well at the same time, or if you look at a lot of them, you have a lot of mass scenes, but also you have scope for him to perform as an actor as well. I think that's a very important niche that Surya is, I think, one of the few contemporaries who can hold that really well, even to this day. I think if you take other people, other actors, other performers and stars like Vijay and Ajit, unfortunately, they're not in a position where they can go back to being the actors they used to be. I think Surya is in that unique position where, okay, நான் ஒரு ஸ்டாராகவும் இருக்கலாம், ஒரு நடிகனாகவும் ஃபுல்லா மூழ்கேறணும்னா ஒரு பொசிஷன்ல இருக்கிறாரு. ஸோ ஐ திங்க் தட் and creating the scenarios for that in the staging and the screenplay was great from Karthik Subbaraj. இன்னொரு விஷயம் எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்சிருந்தது is the action. I love action films. I'm a huge action junkie. So எனக்கு வந்து the fact that okay they've detailed the action. Okay, there's a unique fighting style he has. There's a reason he has this fighting skill, and you know how that plays out in the story was interesting to watch instead of just okay cut to action scene and then you have a standard kind of usual choreo you get. இது ஒரு interesting இருந்துச்சு, you know, when he's winding up his hands and doing stuff like that. I think only point where it kind of got for me was the last fight because I felt like they got went once ahead, went to the kind of usual thing of okay, rope jumpla, பத்தடி பாஞ்சு போறான் அந்த மாதிரி kind of thing. Like, it would have been nice if they stuck to that initial kind of idea, but you know, nothing too much to complain. The choreography was great, and even the way it was shot and cut. There was a lot of there isn't a lot of long takes, but and usually that's a problem for me. But இதுல வந்து it felt a lot more planned and not as a way to hide cuts and stacking, but more as a way of okay, இதான் காட்டுறோம் அது காட்டுறோம். It felt better. Um, another big point plus point like Dharani said was music. So எனக்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா the songs were okay, to be honest, from the get go. எனக்கு it was like okay, um, ஒரு ஒரு சனா ஆல்பம்னா எப்படி இருக்கும்னா அந்த மாதிரி தான் இருந்துச்சு. But the background score really you know impressed me. It elevated the film a whole another level. I think Karthik Subbarajுக்கும் சந்தோஷ் நாயருக்கு இருக்கிற equationல you know you have a really great background score that has come out of it. And I think in terms of technical design, as Karthik Subba as a director, he's done a tremendous job with staging his scenes, the shots, the coverage, the kind of way he's designed the different scenes to play out the blocking, framing is all top notch for me. Anyways, we've got the goods. Time for what didn't work, the bad. And I think I have a much longer list than Dharani does. So, Dharani, why don't you go ahead?
I think starting with I think my word like my negatives for the film would be in the second halfல writingல கொஞ்சம் பிரச்சனை இருந்துச்சு. என்ன என்ன பிரச்சனைனா I think the whole biological parents him reuniting with his family part, it just didn't connect to me emotionally because it didn't build up to that. It was just like okay, you have parents, okay, you're not an orphan, okay, but how is Surya feeling now? Okay, he just wants to, like, you've never
Or
you've never
emotional
met
connect
your
இருக்காது, right?
parents.
I
This
mean, I
is
think
like your
like
first.
I mean, even Jigarthan double XL, double XL. At least
Mm.
you have him kind of interacting with his, you know, tribesmen and அது மூலம் ஒரு emotional bond வருது. இதுல just okay, he meets and he's like instantly அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு
Yeah,
மாதிரி
maybe I
ஜாலியா.
think அந்த இவங்கள ஃபைட் பண்றது சரி, okay, we get it because he's ஏதோ ஏதோ வச்சுக்கலான்னு வச்சு இருக்கலாமே, பட் the whole அந்த ஃபேமிலி கூட ரீகனெக்ட் ஆகுறது, அவங்கள மீட் பண்ண அந்த ரீயூனைட் ஆகுறது வந்து is like it could have been done a little better because okay, you have a mentally unstable mother, you have your dad who you've already beat up before, then you have a sister, but then you know, okay, you immediately know, okay, these are my parents, and then you guys are all one family, one happy family. அது இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் டெவலப் பண்ணியிருக்கலாம். Maybe he could have been distant from them for a while, and then towards the end he could have gotten with ஏதாவது ஒன்று பண்ணிருக்கலாம். But the fact that he immediately was like அப்பான்னு சொல்லி கட்டி பிடிக்கிறதுலாம் கொஞ்சம், it was just not working for me. Other than that, I think the writing of, again, already நான் எங்க எல்லா வீடியோஸும் சொன்னதுதான், கார்த்திக் சுப்ராஜ் has been promoting this as a love film, but அங்க love என்ன இருக்குன்னு எனக்கு தெரியல. Like, they haven't written Pooja's and Surya's relationship well. Like, okay, we see them and later they fall in love. We know why they, fall in love because apparently they just spark, which is okay. But why, what is their relationship? Like, what have they gone through together after திருப்பி ஒன்று சேர்ந்ததுக்கு அப்புறம் என்னென்னலாம் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க? There was also a tweet about this where the director of Veeradhira Suran had said that, you don't need to know the whole backstory to figure out stuff, which, okay, but I think maybe this could have been developed a little more just because this was branded as a love story.
I think
இது வந்து
branded
ஒரு
as a love story mailer, I think okay, that works in like okay, Veerathir Surpati பேசும்போது that works because that character doesn't, you don't need to know okay how he does what he does. I think in the படத்துக்கு the whole crux of it is okay, Surya is struggling to let go of violence which if you see if அவரோட கேரக்டர் பாத்தீங்கன்னா அது அவனோட முழு அடையாளமா இருக்கும் until that point. His self
Yeah.
respect, his self worth, relationship with his family and friends, everything hinges on him being a violent person. So அது ஏன் ஒரு ரேண்டமா ரேண்டமா மீட் பண்ண ஒரு பொண்ணுக்கு why are you letting it go அந்த ஒரு ரீசனிங் காட்டாம இருந்தது, it I think really halted the film for me.
And it's also not like Surya was a whole other person when he met Pooja, right? Like after they grew up and when they met, he was already a gangster. So you already knew what you were getting into. So we don't know why she wants him to let go of violence. We don't know why and we don't know why she's like completely abandoning him when he gets arrested. We don't see anything. We just see that okay, she came, she left, and then he goes behind her. Why does he go behind her? Why does he want to fight these people? We don't know. Um, we only know that okay, he's like he likes Pooja, she's the only woman in his life, and he'll go to any extent to for her. But why is he going to that extent for her?
Like
That we don't.
what is the dynamic between the two of them that makes it so strong that he is willing to do all he does for Pooja Hegde's character?
And
Ama.
also Pooja has the casting on etc. Like most people are saying Surya and Pooja's chemistry is on a next level, but it just doesn't work for me. Like, and I don't like the whole part where ஒரு வெள்ளை பொண்ணு எடுத்து அவங்க கருப்பு பெயிண்ட் அடிச்சு I don't like that. Just cast a dark skinned woman for fuck's sake. Like why just எதுக்கு or just leave her be because Pooja is not even the same shade in any of the scenes. She's in
Mm,
some scenes dark skinned, in some scenes she's light skinned. Like, come on, guys, make up your mind.
Ama.
So,
Yeah. So
those
anyway,
are
anything else? Avalada.
அவ்வளவுதான். Yeah.
Okay, I think okay. So like I said, Enaku on the whole love angle did not work for me. I think as a love story, Tandi, as an emotional reason for Surya to do what he does, and Kada Setta, because if you're asking a man to completely change his personality for a woman, you have to show okay what is so special about that woman that makes him want to do that. You have to have that strong emotional reasoning. He's caring for okay. அது காட்டுங்க ஒரு ரெண்டு மூணு ஷாட்ஸ்ல காட்டுங்க. You don't have you shouldn't have to really think too hard and try to figure out why they're together. And எனக்கு இன்னொரு விஷயம் வந்து like Karthik Subbar has this pattern of taking really, I think, since probably since Iravi, of taking very simple stories but adding way too many ideas. I think what's brilliant about Karthik Subraj is he has these fantastic ideas, right? And that translates really quirky and interesting stories. But at some point, those ideas just jam pack into a screenplay without any proper development for it, and it becomes very tiring. I think, and also what happened, and like I think it's been a case since the last few films. If you take even Mahan, which is very celebrated, a lot of people, myself included, found the latter halves of the second half a bit draggy and a bit overwhelming because there's just so many new ideas brought in, and அது ஒரு அந்த ஒழுங்கில்லாம போகும் ஸ்கிரீன் பிளேக்குள்ள it kind of dilutes the whole plot of the film. I think it takes you away from that initial conflict that you're invested in, and suddenly it takes a U-turn, and which is a bit jarring for me at least. And like இன்னொரு விஷயம் on the like one more pattern I felt with Karthik Subbaraj's films is this kind of need to involve a much grander social narrative, which I applaud that okay he wants to showcase, but I think the better approach should be to go from the get-go, like from the start of the film, introduce that okay இதுதான் இந்த மக்கள் இதுதான் அவங்களோட பிரச்சனை and carry that throughout and incorporate throughout the story instead of okay second halfல மட்டும் அதை பத்தி பேச. I think even Jagametha Andaram did the same. இங்கேயும் you have a whole element okay that these people were enslaved and whatnot, right? And I think, and even if you look at it like it's not really relevant. Okay, அவங்க பிரிட்டிஷ் காலத்துல இருந்து வந்தாங்கன்னு சொல்றதுக்கும் there's not really relevance. It is him trying to make a statement, but I think it's much better served shut down and in another film. Other it kind of overwhelms. I think for me, it throughout the second half, I was really lost of what the film was about. Okay, is it about him like on the second first half and okay, he's reunited with Pooja Hegde. Now, how does he hold it together? How does his dad come in and ruin things? I think on the angle of it would have been a lot neater and about a lot simpler to follow, and we would have might have got more of the relationship, building that we missed, right? And we would understand okay why he's with her. But other bit, I think including a whole new angle with the cult and whatnot. It's just a lot of ideas, and I think even with the cult, um, it's a very standard kind of okay, பணக்காரத்து பையன் பணக்கார அப்பா and பணக்கார பையன் kind of villain dynamic, which is pretty exhaustive in Tamil cinema. And if you want to do a film of this scale and this kind, you have to have something unique to it. If not, it's kind of lays flat. And I think அதான் it just it overwhelmed me a lot. Like there's just too much things happening, and அந்த ஒரு it feels like okay, ஒரு லிங்க் இல்லாம நடக்கிற மாதிரி போச்சு எனக்கு. I think it's I remember reading this tweet that maybe these ideas would be better served as a novel, as a book, where you can really flesh out and sit down and think with it. But within a 2.5 hour film, it's just way too much to kind of um, create a cohesive narrative with.
I think Karthik has already set an idea that when you come into a Karthik Subraj film that you can expect a social message. Marini, he's already set that with Jigar Danda and Jigar Danda Double X and Jagame Tandara. So I think when coming into a Karthik Subraj film, you can't complain about the social message because you know what to expect. And you can't ask a director to change his filmmaking style. Like, இது பண்ணணும் இது பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லக்கூடாது because again, that's what he's okay. So let's say Karthik Subraj wants to do social messages. That's his take. That's his style of filmmaking, and he has no one can question him with that. So I think when coming into retro, you can't ask Karthik Subraj not to say a social message because, and you can't say, okay, I wasn't expecting this because அது already அவர் வந்து சொல்லியிருக்காரு அவர் மொதல் டூ ஃபிலிம்ஸ்ல. அதனால அந்த விஷயத்துல you can't tell Karthik Subraj. Maybe he could have dealt with it in a different way.
No,
Maybe
no,
like
like
in
I
the
think see, it's not the fact that he's messaging, but I think on the first half lo it's a pure okay gangster drama type film. And the ஒரு சாயல் கூட இல்லாம இருக்கும், and it suddenly you have a very heavy topic actually. Other I think when you relegate it to the latter half and bring it only then, you either have to sacrifice the screenplay of the original film that you had, the main plot line, or you're going to have to really dumb down this thing, and it becomes very messy. I think one example is you have a really poor connection of Surya as a character to his original peoples and his family there. Okay, on paper, okay, it makes sense, but you have to really take time to show him kind of blend and harmonize with people. Other misage, and I think and going back to your point about okay, Jagametandra and Jigatandala, I think Jigatanda worked okay-ish, even not completely for me. But I think Jagametandram, I don't think a lot of audiences appreciate. I think social message, and I think what Karthik Shiva tries to get is he tries to make this profound statement through his characters, and I think it is often best done when the scale of the issue is related to just one person. I think his best works, right, in terms of, in my opinion, if you take Jigar Tanda, the original, and if you take Mahan, in Mahan, it's this idea of okay, extremism in one way or the other is going to demolish you, and he neatly confines it to the characters of Gandhi Mahan and his son, right? அவங்க அந்த extreme school எப்படி போயிட்டு அவங்களுக்கு இது, and I think that makes a much more stronger statement because it weaves in more organically to the main story. So that like that's what I mean when I say okay, it feels like a lot. I think the and why I complain, why I prefer, why I make it, I complain, why okay, why is he introducing his? I think he doesn't need to, because I think if you look at retro in itself, there's a lot already going for it. You don't have to have this extra element of a community being oppressed. I think if you want to tell that story, you weave a different kind of story to it. You have them coming from the really from the start of the film. You have that slowly built in and baked in, and have those stakes gradually rise. I think that would have been a much neater approach. I think maybe making this into two films, where one it's about this community rising up against their dictators, the authoritarian landlords, versus a story of okay, Surya trying to overcome his issues with anger and his love story, that kind of a thing. That is what really didn't work for me, Ada.
But again, like if you take that also, so one of his earliest films would be if you take Iravi as an example, that film also starts off as it starts off as a plot of Vijay Sethupathi, S. J. Surya and them, but then at the very end of the film, they introduce the whole women and Sudhandiram and the women empowerment concept to it. So அது கார்த்திக் சுப்ராஜ் திடீர்னு பண்ற ஒரு விஷயம் இல்லை. I think from his
I don't
earliest film
திடீர்னு
itself is
I
something that he's been
திடீர்னு
doing.
I think from
Which
Iravi is when it started. அதுதான் அங்கிருந்து I think is where it kind of hits me a bit different. I think those films tend to not work with me as much as where
Maybe was his
sorry.
Iravi thane or
No,
Iravi
no,
was
there
his
was
second film,
Jigatanda
right?
Pizza
First
and
it was
Jigatanda Pizza was there also.
Pizza was his first. Then
Hmm?
இரவிக்கு அப்புறம் தானே ஜிகர்தண்டா.
I
இரவிக்கு அப்புறம்
don't
தானே
think so.
ஜிகர்தண்டா வந்தது.
I don't think so. So anyway,
Okay.
like what I'm saying, it's not a sudden thing, but I'm saying it's been a pattern of his where he has this
Yeah.
compulsion to take a big social issue. But I think he's a lot more effective when he dials it down and does it and conveys a beautiful story through that. Or if he wants to really go with that, I think go from the get go. Like don't hesitate for one bit. Like first half they you can introduce these people and go into real depth of what it is. I think instead of taking two stories and kind of every feel it's like okay, he's dumped all of his ideas, brilliant ideas, but எது எது வந்து ஒரு film குள்ள it should fit and make a neat storyline kulla that I think that is where it kind of sort of messes up. I think even with Jigatanda Double X, he kind of got it right, not completely, but I think that was his best attempt of that fusion of large social issues and a quirky story. But I think again and again, I think it's not really working. I think when he sticks to his template like he does in Mahan or even Peta for like Peta has no social messaging, honestly, but when he stick to these quirky stories, tells them and has a small but very profound character driven kind of realization or message, I think that's a lot stronger, I feel.
But I personally, I didn't have a problem with that. It's just அந்த family கொண்டு வராம கொண்டு வந்ததையும் கொஞ்சம் ஒழுங்கா இது பண்ணியிருந்தா okay. But I think social message at the end of the film also works because in the beginning he's giving the fans what they want or like the
I
majority
think it's not
mark.
about fans because it's a neat story. அதுதான் எனக்கு இருக்கிற இது விஷயம். I
But
think
I think it works. It's just அந்த family மட்டும்தான் எனக்கு இருக்க பிரச்சனை. Like why he could have just been an orphan. Uh, okay, they wanted to bring in the whole Krishner story, but அதுவுமே இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் பெட்டரா எழுதியிருக்கலாம் because
Yeah,
Krishner was
I think the issue with the film for me is not that it's underwritten but overwritten with too many things happening and அது ஒரு neatness இல்லாம இருந்த மாதிரி இருந்துச்சு. It felt like okay, இருக்கிற எல்லா சாசஸும் அந்த பர்கர்ல போட போறோம். It kind of tastes okay, but ஒன்னு ரெண்டு சாசஸ் இல்லாம பண்ணிருந்தா you reduce the quantities இன்னும் பெட்டரா இருந்திருக்கலாம் எனக்கு தோணுது.
at least if this was the idea, I don't think that Pooja should have been brought into this, and I don't think that it should
Exactly,
have been.
exactly. That's my point. It feels like two different
Yeah,
drastically different stories muddled together. So it
yeah,
kind
because
of left me with this kind of feeling when I walked out.
maybe it could have even just been like a goofy thing where he goes to Andaman for puja, but it didn't have to be like puja, 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 abdi Rukmini, அப்படின்னு இருக்காம like இதுதான் கதைனா love story கொண்டு வந்திருக்க தேவையில்ல. It could have been
That's my
love.
point.
Yeah, the romance part could have been like a part of it, but it didn't have to be all
Yeah, but I
love.
think that the whole that I think that line, okay, a gangster trying to let go of his violent side while facing so many issues. I think that's a brilliant like logline for the film. I think that's one thing Karthik is really neat, right? Even when I talk about Mahan to like friends who are not Tamil, right? The line I use is what if an economics professor becomes a alcohol baron slash mafia gangster? Like that is such a cool one-liner. I think இதுக்கும் இருந்திருக்கலாம், but when you like even if you take retro, okay, he's trying to let go of his he's also reconnecting with his long lost tribe. It's a whole mouthful. It's not a neat enough story. அதான் இருக்கிற பிரச்சனை. Anyways, before we give our ratings, right? We'll leave that at the end. We have a rough idea of what Surya's next lineup is, right? You have the film with RJ Balaji next, Venki Atluri, Vadivasa somewhere around the corner, and you have long held projects like the Rolex standalone film and Vadivasa in the pipeline. What has you excited about Surya's next films? What are you looking forward to?
I'm very skeptical about the RJ Balaji film. I'm like, I think I wasn't expecting it to be a God film until like our last episode where Hari told me that it's going to be Surya as a god and Mukuti Amman ish. It's not going to work for me. I'm just not looking forward to that. But then I am excited for Vadi Vassal and the Rolex standalones, even Venki Atluri. I love Lucky Bhaskar, but I'm still not sure about that because I'm more excited for Rolex because we've already seen Rolex and we know what to expect. And Vadi Vassal because Vetrimar and Surya combo. So I think those are the two films that I'm excited for. Both films, I think Surya has already given us assurance that Vadi Vassal is coming. And in a recent public interview, Lokesh had said something about the Rolex film,
Yeah.
but we don't still know much about both films. So, but those are the two films that I'm excited for.
I think for me, right, I'm not sure what to expect with the RJ Balaji project. That logline is out there. Okay, it's sort of like Mukutyaman, a very similar kind of thing. But again, I don't know really what much to expect. We haven't even got a full-fledged poster yet for the film or a title for that matter, right? Even though shooting everything's wrapped up and I assume they're in post-production soon. But Venki Alturi film is one that I'm really excited for because I think the screen like last year one of the most riveting and exciting Indian films I watched in theaters was Lucky Bhaskar. Just such a fun back and forth screenplay. I think Surya in in one of Venki Atluri's characters, and you give him a bit of a gray shade like they do in Lucky Bhaskar, a cheeky side to it. I think it would be really cool. And I think the producer even said, "Oh guys, get ready for Sanjay Ramasamy to return." I mean, that is sound pretty cool in itself, like businessman, that kind of a thing. But should be fun. I'm really hyped for that. I love that that's happening. In fact, I was actually hoping that that doesn't materialize and it becomes an AK film instead. But what's happened has happened. About Vadivasal, I'm a huge Vetrimaran fan. So whether or not for Surya, I'm watching this just for Vetrimaran, the maestro himself. So that's there. But with the Rolex film, I'm a bit mixed about it to be honest, because I think Lokesh is a brilliant director, but I think the last few of his films have kind of underwhelmed me in terms of the writing, and it's because that he showed really good writing skills in his films like Kaidi, Managaram, and even Master. To me, honestly, were really well written films, but the last two outings weren't up to his usual standard. And I think you have a real abundance right now of very stylistic filmmakers. You have, like we were talking about so time, Karthik Subaraj, Nelson, Lokesh Kanaj, people who really stylized in what they do. So I think with Lokesh, I want that writer in him to kick back because he writes really good script as well. So if that is given to us, I think it'll be really fun watch. And I think Cooley will be a test for us to see what Lokesh can do given more time and spend more time in writing and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyways, back to retro. Since we're all letterbox heads here, at least I am. What is your rating out of 5 for retro?
I'm gonna go with a 3.5.
For me, because it was for me like it was an okayish first half, but the second half really kind of put me off, and for reasons I said so, I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Fun fact: no film this year has crossed 2.5 in terms of ratings for me, which is actually pretty interesting. Not a single film has gone above that.
You'd watch Tourist Family.
Should we'll see if that beats it. Anyways, hope you guys
But
enjoyed this episode. Um, hope you guys somewhat understood our takes. Comment down below your takes, your thoughts, and what you thought of the film or what you thought of our video. And stay subscribed, stay tuned for more updates. Not updates, more videos, more discussions. It's not just reviews, we have a bunch of other cool ideas packed up. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, it's us signing off.
Hi guys.